Thanks for coming out and watching the oxymoronic Reddit Professional Show, where I showcase the best and worst of the internet. Here I comment on brilliant and hilarious comment chains regarding dumb shit on the internet for you to enjoy. Make sure to subscribe, hit the little bell button so that you get notifications every time we come up with a new video. Enjoy this week's show.
I am Barack Obama, President of the United States. Ask me anything. I am recent law school graduate. Despite graduating from a top school, I find myself unemployed with a large student loan debt burden. While I'm sure my immediate prospects will improve in time, it's difficult to be optimistic about the future knowing that my ability to live a productive life, to have a fulfilling career, to buy a house, to someday raise a family, is hampered by my debt and the bleak economic outlook for young people. I know that I'm not alone in feeling this way. Many of us are demoralized. Your 2008 campaign was successful in large part due to the efforts of younger demographics. We worked for you, we campaigned for you, and we turned out in record numbers to vote for you. What can I say to encourage those in similar situations as I am to show up again in November? What hope can you offer us for your second term? I understand how tough it is out there for recent grads. You're right, your long-term prospects are great, but that doesn't help in the short term. Obviously, some of the steps we have taken already help young people at the start of their careers. Because of the health care bill, you can stay on your parents' plan until you're 26. Because of our student loan bill, we are lowering the debt burdens that young people have to carry. But the key for your future, and all our futures, is an economy that is growing and creating solid middle-class jobs, and that's why the choice in this election is so important. The other party has two ideas for growth: more taxes cuts for the wealthy, paid for by raising tax burdens on the middle class and gutting investments like education, and getting rid of regulations we've put in place to control the excesses on Wall Street and help consumers. These ideas have been tried, they didn't work, and will make the economy worse. I want to keep promoting advanced manufacturing that will bring jobs back to America, promote all-American energy sources, including wind and solar, keep investing in education and make college more affordable, rebuild our infrastructure, invest in science, and reduce our deficit in a balanced way with prudent spending cuts and higher taxes on folks making more than $250,000 per year. I don't promise that this will solve all our immediate economic challenges, but my plans will lay the foundation for long-term growth for your generation, and for generations to follow. So don't be discouraged. We didn't get into this fix overnight, and we won't get out overnight, but we are making progress, and with your help we'll make more. What's the recipe for the White House's beer? It will be out soon. I can tell from first-hand experience, it is tasty. What are you going to do to end the corrupting influence of money in politics during your second term? Thankful. Money has always been a factor in politics, but we are seeing something new in the no-holds-barred flow of 7- and 8-figure checks, most undisclosed, into super PACs. They fundamentally threaten to overwhelm the political process over the long run and drown out the voices of ordinary citizens. We need to start with passing the Disclose Act that is already written and been sponsored in Congress, to at least force disclosure of who is giving to who. We should also pass legislation prohibiting the bundling of campaign contributions from lobbyists. Over the longer term, I think we need to seriously consider mobilizing a constitutional amendment process to overturn Citizens United, assuming the Supreme Court doesn't revisit it. Even if the amendment process falls short, it can shine a spotlight of the super PAC phenomenon and help apply pressure for change. Mr. President, this is quite possibly the most important issue in American history. The way our voting system works today means that only those with the most money get their voice heard, and those who can't pander to the large spenders will not. The only way to truly fix the election system is for publicly funded elections. Elections should not be about who is best at gathering money, but who has the opinions and goals that people want. These two are not, and should not be one and the same. Any donation should be considered a bribe. All candidates should get equal airtime. All candidates should get equal money to spend as they will on advertisements and their campaign. All candidates should have an equal chance to be heard across the nation, regardless of how rich they are, or their friends. The only way to have a true representative democracy is through a system like this. Until this happens, money will always influence elections in a way that is not beneficial to the people. How can the people ever trust their government knowing they are constantly taking bribes from the wealthy? Fix this one issue and 90% of the other issues about corruption will slowly fade away. I implore you, please do something about this. Simply creating some minor law about capping donations and such is simply not enough. I don't know if you will even see this as this conversation is already over, but one can only hope. What was the most difficult decision that you had to make during this term? The decision to surge our forces in Afghanistan. Anytime you send our brave men and women into battle, you know that not everyone will come home safely, and that necessarily weighs heavily on you. The decision did help us blunt the Taliban's momentum, and is allowing us to transition to Afghan lead, so we will have recovered that surge at the end of this month, and will end the war at the end of 2014. But knowing of the heroes that have fallen is something you never forget. What is the first thing you'll do on November 7th, win or lose? Win or lose, I'll be thanking everybody who is working so hard, especially all the volunteers in field offices all across the country, and the amazing young people in our campaign offices. Win or lose. Hard to imagine a loss. The Republicans have left the country in a shambles, and opposed most of what you've done to try to fix it. A GOP victory would be truly heartbreaking. I think the original poster might also have meant, any big legislative plans for term 2. Edit. I like your chances of winning, and it's something I'm sure many would like to know. Thanks for doing the IAMA. Now, I get to vote for you twice. Here, and on election day. Here's to 4 more years. Good luck, Mr. President. How are you going to help small businesses in 2013 and 2014? And what, if any, bills are you going to implement for small businesses in 2013 and 2014? We've really focused on this since I came into office. 18 tax cuts for small business, easier funding from the SBA. Going forward, I want to keep taxes low for the 98% of small businesses that have $250,000 or less in income, make it easier for small business to access financing, and expand their opportunities to export. And we will be implementing the Jobs Act bill that I signed that will make it easier for startups to access crowdfunding and reduce their tax burden at the startup stage. Who's your favorite basketball player? Jordan. I'm a Bulls guy. We know how Republicans feel about protecting internet freedom. Is internet freedom an issue you'd push to add to the Democratic Party's 2012 platform? Internet freedom is something I know you all care passionately about. I do too. We will fight hard to make sure that the internet remains the open forum for everybody, from those who are expressing an idea to those who want to start a business. And although there will be occasional disagreements on the details of various legislative proposals, I won't stray from that principle, and it will be reflected in the platform. Are you considering increasing funds to the space program? Making sure we stay at the forefront of space exploration is a big priority for my administration. The passing of Neil Armstrong this week is a reminder of the inspiration and wonder that our space program has provided in the past. The Curiosity probe on Mars is a reminder of what remains to be discovered. The key is to make sure that we invest in cutting-edge research that can take us to the next level, so even as we continue work with the International Space Station, we are focused on a potential mission to an asteroid as a prelude to a manned Mars flight. It seems like each new president brings a new direction to the space program. With Bush we got Constellation, and you brought us more of a focus on science missions. Do you have the ability to give NASA the power to choose its own direction and not be hampered by whatever the President and Congress are feeling like that day? Let me be clear, I love the direction that NASA is headed in currently, but they could do so much for. I think that just as much as NASA clearly needs a larger budget, they need the power to use that budget effectively. How do you balance family life and hobbies with, well, being the POTUS? It's hard. Truthfully, the main thing other than work is just making sure that I'm spending enough time with Michelle and the girls. The big advantage I have is that I live above the store, so I have no commute. So we make sure that when I'm in DC I never miss dinner with them at 6:30 p.m., even if I have to go back down to the Oval for work later in the evening. I do work out every morning as well, and try to get a basketball or golf game in on the weekends just to get out of the bubble. Speaking of balance, though, I need to get going so I'm back in DC in time for dinner. But I want to thank everybody at Reddit for participating. This is an example of how technology and the internet can empower the sorts of conversations that strengthen our democracy over the long run. And remember to vote in November. If you need to know how to register, go to gottaregister.com. By the way, if you want to know what I think about this whole Reddit experience, not bad. What is the purpose of the embargo on Cuba? Will you consider lifting it? Thanks for doing this AMA. He talked about this prior to the 2008 election. His answer was the same populist, we are going to hold the embargo to spread democracy and freedom, bullshit that's been said by every president to uphold the criminal embargo, including McCain. The embargo does nothing but hurt Cuba and its citizens by restricting beneficiary trade, and even much needed medical supplies that Cuba needs. It's been consecutively voted against by the UN by a vote of 192-2, being the US and Israel. The mere fact that the Obama thinks that the US has the power to decide another country's well-being on the guise of spreading democracy, I think is quite telling, and why I much more prefer Ron Paul's views on American foreign policy. The US prior to the Cuban Revolution had supported the Batista dictatorship, as U.S. investors had much stake in Cuban land. The embargo was hence initiated to protect American interests by immediately thwarting and disabling its socialist neighbor before it ever even had the chance. Later, the CIA tried to overthrow Castro with multiple assassination attempts and an invasion, while decades later still aiding anti-Castro militants. The Cuban Five still remain jailed. Politicians like Obama have made such simple historical facts and opinions seem controversial and radical.
If you enjoyed this week's effective way to waste time, hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. If you are enjoying the series, leave me a comment below. A special shout out to the content creators. You frickin' rock.